Hello, good evening, everybody. I trust that you're doing well. I just want to make sure that we have gone live both on Instagram and on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay, let me just get confirmation of that. Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining in today. Today, we are highlighting a very important day, which is International Women's Day or International Day of Women and Girls in Science. So, we have an incredible panelist. Before I invite them and they introduce themselves, I will introduce myself again. My name is Joanna Temlong. I'm the CEO founder of Fasara Education. I'm also a trained biomedical scientist, so I did that as my BSc. So this day is also very important to me, sharing and discussing the importance of representation in STEM careers. So we have, as I said, an exceptional panelist of women that will be speaking based on their careers, their experience, and we'll also be highlighting some key areas that are important in this discourse and in this International Day. But before I start, I would love to just share some of the remarks that was actually posted earlier on today by the Secretary General of UNESCO, and these are his comments for International Day. Women still represent just one third of the global scientific community, deprived of adequate funding, publishing opportunities, and leadership positions in universities. Women and girls continue to face an uphill battle in building careers in science, technology, engineering, and of course, math, so STEM. So we still find that men dominate the field at every level, including in artificial intelligence. The more women are excluded in these STEM careers, the more we limit our collective power to address urgent global challenges from climate change and food security to public health and technological transformation. So we see and we still understand that women are really underrepresented in STEM careers. Men are still dominating key industries. And we also have understand the impact that this is having on a global scale. So having said that, I would like to invite my panelists to just share a bit about what they do. So let me just invite them to come. Hopefully you'll see them in a second, and they'll just take their time to just share a bit about what they do, and then we'll go straight into the conversation. So as I said, this is our edu conversation that we do, and thank you so much for joining. If you're here for the first time, you are very welcome, and do the needful and share it with somebody that is not here as we get into this conversation. So I think I'll call you out one by one. Thank you so much for joining. I would just like you first to, without me saying your name has been on our posters, but please just share one after the other. Who are you? What do you do? And yeah, we'll go from there. Don't all rush
Okay,
at
I'll
once.
start.
Thank you.
I will start. My name is Sabrina, and I am a maths teacher. I'm also an assistant head teacher at a secondary school, but I'm going to focus on my role as a maths teacher today in celebration of International Women's and Girls' Day in Science and STEM. So, I also did maths and economics at university. I've always enjoyed maths. I kind of went down that career path because it was just a subject I enjoyed. I was really inspired by my maths teacher when I was in school, and that's where my love of maths started. And then, I kind of just went into becoming a maths teacher, and I've now been doing it for 10 years, and I've developed within my career. So, I'm really excited to be part of the
Awesome.
conversation today.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Sok Mamben. I'm a medical doctor, a principal medical doctor working with the government of the FCT government here. I work in one of the hospitals, and I work as an obstetric and gynecology doctor. And just sort of coincides with the with the day, women in science, and I happen to work with
Mm-hmm.
women. So
Every
just
day.
something that, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Every
Yeah.
day, work with women, hear their challenges and all, and try to see how we can, make women healthier. And so I did my medical first degree, medicine, University of Jos, and then I also have a master's in global health. So we just deal with global health issues. And apart from that, I also work with the HIV clinic. So people living with HIV, we also work together with different
Mm.
partners to help in you know, their well-being generally. So this is my first time here, so I'm going to try my best to answer all your questions and do the best I can.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you. And last but not least, Valerie.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity again. So my name's Valerie. I would say I'm a public health enthusiast. I currently work at a public health organization in Abuja, Nigeria. My background, I trained as a biomedical scientist. I've got a master's in global public health, and I'm just generally passionate about improving the lives of women and girls, especially. But yeah, I just believe that everyone should have access to quality healthcare. So I'm excited to see what I can contribute to the conversation.
Thank you so much. I know there's a lot that all of you can contribute to the conversation in your specialisms, and also thank you so much for sharing what you do. And thank you so much for your time here once again. So I think, seeing as I'm seeing Sabrina here, let me ask you the first question. As I said in my opening remarks, you will see that, or you'll know, you'll understand that there is a gender disparity when it comes to um, girls and women in STEM careers. But from personal experience, is that something that you have observed even amongst students in terms of their enthusiasm to go into like this more science inclined subjects? Is that something that you have identified? And then from there, I'll ask you a follow-up question.
Okay. Um, I think when I look at the staff body in other schools that I've worked in, um, the kind of disparity amongst genders begins there. So you see like the head of science and the head of maths being male figures rather than female figures, or you see the departments quite male dominated when it comes to teachers
Yeah.
rather than female dominated. And I guess that kind of pattern then trickles down to then the students. So perhaps the number of students that take triple science over just taking single and combined science is more male dominated in the triple science area, or students that then go on to study A-level maths is more boys than it is girls. So yeah, that's definitely something that is reflected, but not just
Hmm.
within the students, but within the staff body as well.
Okay, so you're saying that you've also identified that in terms of the teachers. So in terms of the maths science teachers, it's more male inclined.
In some schools where I've worked in or observed, it definitely has been like that. I'm really
Yeah.
fortunate that in the school that I'm in now, we have a female head of maths, which is really nice. And actually, we have a female heavy
Mm,
maths department. So that's really
yeah.
great. But in
Yeah.
other schools, you will see the kind of male dominant head of departments and departments in general. So, yeah, that's
Okay.
definitely something that has been reflected down from previous generations.
Okay, and before I move over to Valerie, do you see the impact that that has had amongst your students? So having the like more female representatives as like maths teachers or head of department, have you seen that a direct impact that has in terms of the percentage of students that take that subject, or any kind of like ratio when it comes to male to female students in that particular STEM related subjects?
I wouldn't say that I've seen a direct impact of it, but I'm sure if we looked at the data and I'm sure if we dug deeper into it, we would see an indirect impact of that for sure. I think it may be
Okay.
if you look at the number of kids that may go on to do A level maths, you may see the numbers be higher, but that is not, that is not a statistic that I'm certain of.
Yeah.
But it would be
Yeah.
really interesting to look at that data and see whether there is an indirect impact of that.
Yeah, I guess I was just asking purely out of curiosity. Just, but
Mm.
of course, the data will speak for itself. Valerie, are you there? I just want to make sure that we can see you. Okay, you're back. Okay, I was gonna switch over to Instagram, but I think if I can see all of you, then we can stick to YouTube. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Okay, good. Okay, so Valerie, let me ask you, what role do women in public health play in inspiring young girls to pursue careers in STEM? Valerie, are you there? If you are not, I'm not seeing her. I can head over to Dr. Sook.
Okay, I think we lost
Yeah, I think
Valerie.
I haven't, I'm not seeing her. Okay. Let me ask you a question, Dr. Sook. So in your
Okay.
field, women's health is of course crucial. And as you said in your introduction, you deal with women every single day. But firstly, for those of us that don't know what obstetrics and gynecology is about, can you firstly tell us a bit about what you do um, in your role?
Okay, so the obstetrics and gynecology consists of two parts. We have the first, the obstetrics, which deals with women that are pregnant. So the care of women from preconception to conception to post-conception. So we issues and all. Then the gynecology, or the gynecological part, deals with women of other ailments of that concerns women apart from pregnancy. That's those women that are not pregnant but have other issues, you know, that concerns them, like the cancers, the infections, and the other things. So that's more of the gynecology. So in general, we deal with whatever concerns women. So
Okay,
that's
it's interesting because I know we're talking about like a misrepresentation in these STEM fields, but in your particular department, I'm assuming that there will be more female ONGs. Is that correct?
well,
Or
it's
no?
supposed to be, but no, it's not. So
Okay, so that was a wrong assumption. I had a bit
yes,
of hope. I had some hope
because
that there may be.
and but funny enough, it's not like that. You see, like in the obstetrics and gynae, you see more. It's more male dominated. More.
Interesting.
Exactly. Like where I work,
Yeah.
for a long time, I was the only female.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're about three out of like three female doctors, we say, out of about 16.
Mm-hmm.
16 male doctors, three female doctors. So you see, there's that disparity between, the males and the females. They're more of the males. And I would say because of the, just when I say the work,
Work as
just
in how?
like you just had this notion coming up like when you're in med school and they keep saying no, gynae is it's very difficult, very busy. So
Interesting.
yeah, so a lot of women, because you have to do the work-life balance. You're thinking of, oh, my family, and then I have to um work. So gynae, it's really a busy place. You're there, you have to be there 24 hours. You have to make sure that everything. It's more like an emergency, especially for the pregnant women. Most countries, they use the maternal mortality rate to kind of like rate the healthcare
Mm-hmm.
issues. So
Mm.
you have to be on your toes. You're gonna be called at any time of the night and everything. So that's why a
Yeah.
lot of women, oh, I'm thinking of home. I have to be at the home front, taking care of the
Okay.
home and all that. So that's why they
Right.
run away
Yeah.
from, gynae, more of the
Yeah.
men, and then yeah. But well,
So
we hope to
more so
change
the
that
lifestyle.
narrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So you're saying more so the lifestyle that surrounds being in gynae. That's why women tend to deviate towards other kind of departments, medical departments?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. The lifestyle, you're there. You have to be there 24 hours because you have, you know. So that's why a lot of women tend to deviate from it, which I think
Mm,
shouldn't be so. Because we are
yeah,
women, we would be able to, it's easier to put
relate
yourself,
to support.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to have the empathy and to put yourself in that, so it works better. But you know, just because of the work and all that. But like I said, going
Okay,
forward, hopefully, we see a lot of women
yeah,
coming up now in gynae.
yeah.
So in years to come, it will change.
Hopefully, that's what we're hoping for. And then,
Yeah.
Valerie, I guess I will ask you the next question because public health, well, let me not describe what public health is. Please just describe a bit more about what you do in terms of your position in public health. And then bouncing off what Dr. Suk was just mentioning regarding the fear of the lifestyle surrounding gynae is what
Mm.
seems to deter women to go into that specific department. Is that the same case with you? So you as a public health specialist, is that something that you have found? If not, you can talk a bit more about that.
Thank you. That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed within the public health space, I'd say the split of men to women, and for a bit of context, because I think people maybe get a bit confused as to, oh, what's the difference between public health and like a public health professional, doctor or
Yeah,
nurse, for example.
yeah.
But public health, they mainly work. Well, there's different areas of public health interventions. You've got like the law and policy making part of it. So we pretty much assist the government with laws and policies related to public health. I'll try and give an example. So
Yes,
there's
please.
this task shifting and task sharing policy, which basically allows nurses, midwives, and also CHUs, which are community, to provide certain levels of healthcare with maternal and usually when it comes to like labor and delivery or what else, it's like doctors that are in charge and nurses and midwives can't, respond, do certain procedures without the presence of a doctor. But this task shifting and task sharing policy, especially in the context we live in Nigeria, we
Mm-hmm.
do have
Mm-hmm.
basically a lack of doctors. So if a doctor's not present and you're not allowing nurses and midwives to do certain procedures, that could definitely put a woman at risk. So
Yeah.
that's an example of a public health policy that we
Okay.
come in, we discuss with the
Mm-hmm.
government pros and
Mm-hmm.
cons, we advocate for basically, yeah, we advocate for positive changes within the public health space
Right.
to minimize preventable deaths.
Yeah.
In fact, we want to eliminate them like
Hmm.
totally, but you know,
Mm-hmm. I
so
hear Doctor is also agreeing with you.
yeah, babes, I need a little bit of direction back to the question, please.
So I was just thank you. Firstly, you explained some policies and a bit more depth into what you do as a public health specialist. And I just said that Dr. Suk was agreeing with you because, of course, there's overlap with the two of your careers. But let me just rather than going back to that question, let me just deviate to another one. What I would now ask you more specifically is what role then do women in public health play in inspiring young girls to pursue a career in STEM? You've highlighted the importance of public health
Mm,
specialists. And you've also, for example, you've said you've identified that there's a shortage of doctors in this continent. And yeah, so just to answer that question, what role can we play as women? What role can you play as women to inspire young girls to pursue a
oh,
career as a public health specialist?
oh,
Oh, I hope your internet.
My internet is cutting and someone's trying to call me and
Hello?
it's just hello.
Yep, yep, you're here.
We're talking about women and girls in public health, right? And the importance of
Yeah.
so
And how to inspire the next generation,
sorry.
the younger
Um
generation.
for our yeah, just piggybacking what our doctor said. It's critical, in fact, for women and girls to get involved in public health because we make up pretty much 50% of the population. Specifically, it's women and girls that are dealing with. For example, men cannot get pregnant. Only a woman can get pregnant, and relate to. I can give a case in point actually. My mum with my last sibling, and thank God, she was experienced in it. It was her sixth child, and she knew that she was going into labor, but because she hadn't dilated the full 10 centimeters, the hospital was telling her that she should go home. And it was a man.
Mm,
And my mum, thankfully, she advocated for herself because she did go into labor shortly after. And my sister was born about 2 hours after that, But imagine she's rushed home now and she's going into it. It could have been a critical situation. So
mm,
I feel that it's really important for women and girls, especially if they have that initial interest in it. Feed it, seek out mentors.
mm-hmm.
Thankfully, we're very well connected, in today's world. There's social
Yeah,
media, there's public health professionals who have, YouTube channels, Instagram. Um, So yeah, it's good to seek out mentorship. I feel like that's
yeah,
a major key because you can see someone who may have a similar background to you that's actually doing what you want to do,
yeah,
and that can help guide you in a way.
yeah. I
I
think
hope I
that's a very
touched on the
important
question.
point. Yeah, no, it is. That's one of the things that has come up in different discourse and even research. If you check online, like having actual mentors, especially in that early stage of education, whether it's even from the primary level, but more so in the secondary level. And I will channel this back to Sabrina, who's working in schools because it's very important, I believe, to have mentors, to have representatives, just like as she said, whether it is having a head of department or a maths teacher or a science teacher or a physics teacher that is a woman, that is a female, and also diversity and race, but that's another topic. Yeah, I think that representation does have a direct influence on these younger girls and what careers they deviate into. So Sabrina, is that are you with us? I'm
I
not
am
seeing
with
your
us.
face, but I
Yep.
want to believe. Thank you very much. I have two questions actually. Number one, what made you? This is an interesting question because I feel like I know this answer. What made you become a maths teacher? Number one, and number two, we've spoken about mentors, right? But parents are also mentors, right? They're the ones that raise us. They're the ones that you know talk to us, encourage us. So, what roles do parents have as well as mentors, as well as teachers? And how can we kind of work together? How can that community work together to break these gender stereotypes in STEM education?
Mm.
So you
Um,
can answer the first question
yes.
before
So,
the
in
second.
terms of what made me become a maths teacher,
Yeah,
maybe I'll go away from specifically a maths teacher, but maybe focus more on what made me interested in maths. And earlier I talked
yeah,
about having a female maths teacher when I was in school, and I still remember
yeah.
her name up to now, Miss Old. And like she was
Oh,
a really good maths teacher um who worked well with us and like gave her time, and we knew she cared. And I guess that really helped me become good at maths. And then in terms of representation, funnily enough, my mum also did a maths degree. So
oh,
I
interesting.
guess in some ways, children see or become what they kind of see. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that necessarily my parents pushed me in terms of maths,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
perhaps we were having conversations about maths earlier on in our lives,
Yeah.
which made me
Mhm.
then better at maths early on and made me enjoy it more and things like that. So yeah, I definitely agree that representation is really, really important. But
Yeah.
for instances where representation isn't as um, direct or explicit for some students or children, I think educating parents around their bias around some of these subjects, or the
Mm.
stereotypes they have around some of these subjects. Like parents don't see a problem with saying, yeah, I know why my child's not good at maths because I was never good at maths. And actually, that's not something that can be inherited. Like you can be really good at maths.
Mm.
Yeah.
But for other subjects, they're not as comfortable. Like a parent wouldn't say, "Yeah, my child doesn't know how to read," because there's some
Mhm.
sort of shame that comes along with that. But there doesn't seem
Yeah.
to be the shame that comes along with "I'm not good at maths." So I
Mhm.
guess it's about educating parents and carers around the importance of STEM subjects. And making sure that they're equally as important as non-STEM subjects, but
Yeah.
also around kind of the language that parents use with their children and the language that us
Mhm.
as educators use with children as well. So, not using language that fits certain jobs with certain genders. And when we think of an engineer, we might picture a man with a hat on, but actually,
Mm.
engineers can be women as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's all around
True.
educating parents around the stereotypes and the biases that they have just within them based on how they grew up and in the times that they grew up in, um,
Yeah.
and just
Sorry,
provide, yeah.
just to like go just that stereotype comment that you made is so important because even as you said that, I just remembered like even growing up when I think about doctors, I think about men, like males and men in white coats, and usually nurses are the females. I don't know
Yes, yeah.
where that came from,
Yeah.
but I was
Mm,
like, that is something that you kind of do grow up with, and it is so
mm,
important to like talk and educate on, you know, breaking those stereotypes. Like women, you can be like in consultant positions and you can be doctors and you can be, you know, not restricted to all these other kind of jobs and departments. But please go ahead.
totally no, but I was saying, and I agree with what Dr. Suk was saying earlier about like times changing, because actually the four of us here on this platform are the representation for the up and coming generation. So I'm
100%.
sure that in future years we will see more and more people, and the faction will go from a third to I was going to say a quarter. That's less.
I thought mathematician.
From a third
A
to a
third to two
half.
thirds to
And the faction will increase of girls and women in STEM subjects. But yeah, educating and like being really aware of our biases and stereotypes that are within us
That
is
is so
important.
good. That's so good. And then also in a practical level in school, like in education, I
Mm,
think like some things that I've seen where they've tried to involve parents in breaking that stereotype is inviting them in, like even
mm,
as management, top level management, talking to them, sharing different careers and
mm,
opportunities for men, I mean girls, let me say, as soon as we're talking about students to go into. And you know, but the truth of the matter is, and I think Valerie and Dr. Soko also be aware of this, is that in schools here in Nigeria, in Africa, they do tend to generally even push students into or their children into STEM subjects because they believe that they are more kind of valued and respected. So I think that that's an area which is also quite unique and quite interesting at play. But as I said, the school plays an important role in terms of educating parents and also encouraging our students, our girls in particular, to explore other careers. When it came to me choosing biomedical science, I was fortunate enough to go into a career center. I forgot what it was called now, job something. But anyway, and they kind of guided me
mm,
into and encouraged me actually to go into biomedical science, to go into a science related field. So I think like those kind of hubs also are very important, and I would love to see more of that in Africa, in this side of the world.
mm,
But going back to Dr. Sook, we talked about mentorship and the importance of having mentors. We talked about education. Um, we've talked about stereotypes and all these like gender biases. Um, what kind of policies would you like to see implemented to encourage more girls to study medicine and related sciences, to get more girls into ONG, as you have said? What kind of policies and initiatives? How can we get people like Valerie in public health to um, push for policies? And what kind of policies would you like to see?
Okay. Policy. Well, before I just answer your
Yeah,
question, we're talking about the stereotypes. When you're talking about the nurses and the
yeah,
doctors, I was like, I'm telling you, I get that a lot.
really
Like
interesting.
you're in the hospital, and they see me, the female, and they go nurse,
Hi.
and then they see the male who is the
Oh, they say
nurse, and they go
doctor.
doctor.
Mm,
Yes,
Oh my
they do
goodness.
that a lot. Like so I'm wondering, like why do they have to think that as a female you have to be the
It's
nurse,
embedded.
and then the male has
It's
to be
so
the doctor?
unfortunate because it feels like it's embedded.
yes,
It's literally embedded
yes.
in our
Yes,
society.
From
So it
primary
starts from the
school.
and
home.
all.
Yeah.
So so for the policies, I think I would like maybe to start from the education, from the community, the primary education and the secondary education. To just take away this mindset that like you were mentioning about the engineers.
Mm,
I also grew up thinking, oh, most engineers, they are mostly
yeah.
guys, and then you see that even the female engineers, when you see like one or two, you see them like they're more like trying to be like in this kind of masculine, because they just believe that it's kind of more of a masculine job. So I think from, like you said, that taking from
Yeah.
what you said about the guidance, the counseling, the jobs, the we used to have the guidance and counseling, but I don't think it's that we had. But I can't remember like being in school going to say, oh, this is they guide you through this career path and all that. So it should be like a
We need
policies for
that.
all schools should have that in place.
Yeah.
To guide the students through the career path they want to take, not just so they don't think that certain jobs are just for women or certain jobs are for men.
Yeah.
The policies, and then we also need policies that, like for the girl child education,
Mm-hmm.
I would say like in the north, especially where they have the notion that girls are not meant to be in school past a certain age. So you would like to see policies that puts in place that every child must be in school. Every child must go to school, whether a girl or a boy. You must go to school.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of policies that we kind of advocate for, like encouraging girls to go more to school. We have scholarships that will help them.
Yeah.
And then we also have like advocacy to parents. To kind of more. Some of the parents might be uneducated, so they don't really know the importance of the education and having these women up in STEM, because when they get there, they also, if we're underrepresented, so all this like the gender kind of policies that are being made will not really, reflect more on what women
Yeah.
want, because we have the men
Yeah.
doing this thing. So like there's this something they call like through the gender
Mm,
lens. The research is gender lens. So if it's a woman that if we are there up there, and we can see what we really need, and then we make policies for ourselves on how
exactly.
to affect our
Exactly.
yes, our STEM. But if we leave it to the men, they don't have the first hand
Especially when
experience,
it comes to, for example, the
so they
women,
just
female anatomy
yes,
and female experience. How can it come from the men's
exactly.
perspective? That's very true. That is very
Ex-
true.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So exactly. So they are kind of, and then policies we also like to just have just make it friendly,
Mm-hmm.
friendly for women. Well, you could see that in the US they are trying to, the DEI that is going on now
Mm.
everywhere. You're trying to abolish it and somehow,
Yeah.
but in a way it kind of helped it's kind of helped because if you had such policies that you have to give equal representation for such,
Yes,
then you'd say that when
like
they're
almost
doing
like a quota.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
because I can tell you that for sometimes workplaces they just somehow prefer men because they just feel, oh, women, you people have a lot of issues. Women have a lot of issues, but if you have these policies in
Which
place
is
that
wrong.
no, you cannot take you can't take somebody based on their gender. It should just be exactly based on
Yeah.
the person being qualified.
Yes.
Then such policies can also help to push
Mm.
women to go into the STEM, and then we have the women that are being getting into leadership
Mm-hmm.
roles, and helping out. So
I mean,
those are the kind of
you've
things that we
said so
can
many
also do.
important points. Honestly, you've highlighted a lot of important points, and like that quota is what I was thinking about. I was thinking like how or what if we had a scenario where, of course, you don't want it to be static. You want people to have the heart and the passion to have diversity in gender and race and all, but some people just don't have that, and maybe don't really understand why they need to have close that gender gap. But imagine if we had a situation where organizations did have a quota where, okay, you have to hire, 50% male and female in certain leadership positions and whatever. Like that kind of policy or initiative will ensure that we don't have that disparity. Where, of course, as much as we want people to have an understanding to do that by their own will, I think those kind of initiatives are also important. But and you've mentioned another thing that was important, which is understanding why, not just because we want more women in these positions, but why is it important to have that representation? And as you said, is understanding like not just seeing policies and making decisions based on one like unilateral lens, but having more of a diverse lens to have greater
Mm,
impact and to help
yeah.
your clients and patients in a better and more holistic way. So those are really important points. And Valerie, I will just come over to you just in the next 2 minutes before I quickly head over to Serena because I know she has to round up before I come back to you. But we've spoken about we're talking about gender biases, and I would like to throw that question
Mm,
to you as well. I think I asked it to Dr. Sook in terms of for young girls who are interested in these fields, how can we encourage them to go into your public health sector, despite all these kind of gender biases, despite the stereotypes, despite what feels like a very tough environment to go into? How can we encourage,
mm,
what from you as a public health specialist would you give to young girls, let me say in
mm.
secondary school, that are making decisions um, to go into your specific specialism? And I'm giving you 2 minutes, please.
Okay. Thank you, Joanna. So that's a great question. For me, I
Thanks.
feel like the things that piqued my interest when I was in secondary school. I'm just trying to think back. Um, I really feel like it was this is crazy, but I used to watch
I'm
a
interested to
lot
hear
of.
what.
I used I don't even know why. I just had an interest in this thing, but I used to watch a lot of like childbirthing, maternal, like
Oh no.
these shows where you see a woman with and she's got her doula or her midwife where she goes for her
Yeah.
checks, and then the delivery, like you watch the delivery
Mm-hmm.
stories and stuff, and water birth. So I feel like that's where my initial, like interest in, oh wow, this is, you know it's bringing life into the world. Like, what does this
Yeah.
entail? Like, this is crazy, but women are designed to do this. And then I was really interested in biology in school, just the systems. So basically, you can't be interested in something that you haven't been exposed to.
Very true.
So you cannot be interested in something that you haven't been exposed to. If all you're being, I mean, Sabrina made another good point as well, where like just stereotypes from parents, from schools, just from society in general, kind of just leak into the minds of our little girls. Someone who might have been curious to study either science or maths to a further level might feel discouraged because she feels like it's not for girls, because she's not hearing about girls who have studied this. She's not seeing people who have progressed in these careers. It's access. We need access, more access for
Mm-hmm.
young girls.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would encourage girls who are or have an initial interest in STEM fields, the science, maths, tech. Um, you
Yeah.
know, parents and teachers should encourage this curiosity. I feel like
Yeah.
teachers play such a critical role in actually identifying these, the interest or the spark in kids and
Mm-hmm.
nurturing that. But I also think
Mm-hmm.
it's important for schools to encourage critical thinking from a young age, not this
Mm-hmm.
whole sheepish mentality, like actually ask questions, like
Yeah.
think deeply into things. So that would help, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and just a, 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 a wider range of STEM subjects in school. Because, yeah, we've got the maths, science, biology,
Like STEM
chemistry,
clubs.
physics. But
Yeah.
how about um, what are you doing to make science engaging for children? Are we just reading off
Mm.
chemical for the, off the board? Or are we,
Yeah.
getting involved in
Engaging them.
experiments? You
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
I think that's really
Thank you.
important.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
uh
No,
thank you.
you've touched on very important points, Valerie, and I can see your face. I'm like, why are you questioning what you said? Because it actually feeds back into Sabrina once again as she closes, because as you can see, she's in school and she needs to run off before they lock her in. But it is important. And I think like what you said, like making it interesting, like making it intentional to focus, and we're speaking about girls, remember, so focusing on girls and making sure that they are also in the STEM clubs. For example, I know an amazing school here in Abuja that has a maker space where you see them engineer like robots and do 3D printing and drone engineering and all these other incredible things. And you can see how young girls are really involved and excited. So that is one role. And what I would just ask you, Sabrina, in closing, in your closing remarks, you can share what you would like to leave with us. But one question that people ask is, what am I even going to do in maths? Like, what am I going to, why do I need to learn the Pythagoras theorem or all these other things? And what are some real world examples? I'll ask you how maths can be used in different STEM careers, and in this closing, you can share that, and you can also share some other key nuggets that you would like to leave us with on this wonderful day that we're celebrating.
Absolutely. One really key wildlife experience that really inspired me is Katherine Johnson. She was a real mathematician. You may know her.
I
She
don't,
was inspired.
unfortunately.
She was one of the characters inspired in the film Hidden Figures, which was
Oh
about
yes, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mathematicians. Yeah. And so Katherine Johnson was one of the people that helped NASA go to space, essentially. And she was one of the mathematicians in NASA that did key formulas and calculations to get NASA to space. And if you watch the
Mm,
film, it was a very male dominated industry. I mean, the film also touches on race as well, but let's focus on the fact that she was a woman, and there weren't very many women at that time. So I think giving students more examples of inspirational characters like that, like real world
yeah,
characters. And she only
yeah.
died in the last few years. So she was very much a person of our time. Is really inspiring and definitely inspires me. I mean, she was a Black woman, so definitely kind of fitted my inspirational
Mm,
film. But yeah, I think in terms of inspiring students of this generation, I'll say what I said before about children becoming what they see. So it's really
Yeah.
important that whatever field of maths or whatever field of STEM that they want to go into, whether it's space, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's computing, whether it's medicine, whether it's engineering, whether it's any of these jobs that kind of use our STEM skills, they need to see it being done before. They need to see representation of it being done before. And so I think it's up to us as teachers and educators and in schools to show them that it can be done.
Yeah.
And to bring those people in, to have a mentorship, as someone mentioned before. It
Yeah.
doesn't need to be someone who's famous and earning millions. It could be just
Yeah.
someone who came to our school, who works in the local community and is using the skills that they've learned in their STEM subjects, in their maths and their
Yeah.
science and their computing lessons, and is now doing a job in that field. So someone
Mm-hmm.
really relatable for our students, just so they can see what the possibilities are, because often that is the missing link. And I think also in terms of us as educators, we need to really think about the experience that our girls are having
Yeah.
within those subjects and within the classroom. Often we may see that boys may dominate the classroom a little bit more because they're more confident and because they're more vocal. And sometimes you'll see, the shy, quiet girl who kind of just sits and gets on with her work, who can sometimes be forgotten. Actually, if we
Yeah.
think about the experience that those girls are having in those classrooms, we need to really make an effort to make sure that they are engaged, that they are learning, that we are showing them the possibilities that are out there.
Yeah.
I think
Thank you so
that's
much. Thank you so much. That was really detailed. And I think it comes back to that grassroots level where you pay attention to the individual, even in the classroom, pay attention to that quiet girl, maybe that is you feel like could spark or is interested but lacks confidence. And you went back to that important factor of having a mentor. But I do want to just talk very briefly about that before I go on to pass it on to Dr. Sook, which is how do secondary school students find mentors? I know you said that it's not that you have to find, somebody that is in a very high position, etc., but in a very practical way to encourage, like maybe a teacher or an educator that is listening and has students or a young girl. How can we encourage them to find a mentor?
I
How do
think
they
this
go about
the
that?
I think the conversation around STEM and getting girls and women into STEM is definitely becoming broader and louder in society. So lots of organizations out there probably have a link that works with schools, or that can provide someone to come in and do a talk, or that can provide someone to come in
Right, right, right,
share their
right.
experience. So I think what I would say is my first thing would be just to reach out to the local companies, and even the bigger companies out there do have someone that can come in.
Mm-hmm.
We have career fairs in school, and we have the larger companies as well as the smaller companies coming in and sharing what skills and qualifications students need to be able to get into their company to do certain jobs. And a lot of those are linked to do with STEM as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
my advice would be just to get in contact with those organizations, big or small, and
Yeah.
utilize their links and resources.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Let's give her a round of applause. I don't know if people have questions, by the way. I should have asked that in the beginning, but thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. We hope to
Take
have
care.
you
That
again.
was great.
We are not finishing this live, by the way. We are just saying goodbye to Miss Sabrina because she has to run off, as I explained earlier, before Valerie tells me that she's also dropping off. But Dr. Sook, I don't think I asked you this question, and I would like to throw the question to you also. Who inspired you to go into medicine? Who actually inspired you to go into medicine?
Okay, medicine. I think my sister and her friends.
I assumed,
You
but I wanted
know.
them to know.
Yeah. So yeah, my sister and her friends were already like in medical school,
Mm-hmm.
medicine, and sometimes when they come home, they come, with their just sit down listening to them. They're talking about, the medical, the different
Mm,
subjects. Then they come home with their
yeah.
books. They come home with their, all those practical things, the skeletons and all that.
Uh,
So just my interest just picked, from there to
yeah.
like, go into medicine too.
It's so interesting how your environment can have a direct impact
Yeah.
on what you choose as
Yes.
a career.
Yep.
hmm So what would you say to get young girls that are considering it? You know, we have people in September that are probably going into choosing their selections for SS1, etc., making critical decisions. But any young girl that is interested in going into medicine, what advice would you give them? Specifically, you can talk about your department or just in general.
Okay, yeah. So, I just want to say that if they have the passion, if you want to study medicine, you have the passion to study medicine, go ahead and do it. Because we keep having this from school. Even from, let's say, the JSC. When you do the JSC, they always pick the people that come, first, second, third. They say you go to medicine, you
Mhm.
go to science class,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then
Yep.
you know somebody that maybe from the 10th, you are going to the commercial class, you're going to the arts class and everything, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
If somebody has the passion, I might not be get coming first or second in class, but this is what I want to do, and I'm going, once I find myself in there, I'm going to like work hard towards it. I
Yeah.
was never coming first or second or third in class,
Mm.
but I just knew this is what I wanted to do, and I went through that. So if that is what you want to do, is your passion, just go for it. Sometimes it might not be all smooth and all that, because sometimes you might have some challenges and some rough times, but if it's really what you want to go for, you still keep pushing,
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
would you go for it. And like I said, medicine, it's not for specific people, it's for everybody. Everybody that wants to do
Mhm.
it, you can do it. If you put your mind to it, then you can do it. It's not left for
Yes.
some you know
The
specific
few.
people
Somebody
and
with
all that.
two heads.
Exactly. Like how our parents said, this person have two heads. So everybody in medicine, everybody has one head. So,
Yeah. I don't know
and
why medicine always has seen as this elite. Well, I know it
exactly.
requires a specific skill. Don't get me wrong. Like it's a very
The
specialist subject, and
training.
it's not everybody. I
Yes,
know,
yes,
but it
and
does feels like more
and
elite sometimes.
it's is using, like, I'll use myself an example. Like I said, I wasn't coming first in class and everything, but I was
Mhm.
passing. I passed my exams and everything. And of course, I had challenges in med school. Like when you come to med school, I tell you that it's not everybody that passes exams. Sometimes I have I have failed my exams and had to write receipts. So it's not like everybody, when you go into medicine, everything is just smooth and everything. So
Smooth sailing.
different challenges can come through while you're passing through life, that it can affect you one way or the other. So don't see,
Yeah.
like, if I fail this time, if I fail, then I'm done, I can't do it again.
Yeah.
No, if you go and ask a lot of doctors, you'd see one way or the other, they failed one course or they failed one test or
Mhm.
something, but we just had to keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Have the
So
interest. Once you have the
yes,
interest, be resilient and stick to
yes.
it. I remember this
Keep
story where somebody told me, yeah, I remember the story where somebody told me, you know how they have cutoff marks here. So like if
Mhm.
you don't meet the benchmark, because they have specific people that can go into to the science class and then the others will be arts. So let's say it's like 30, and then if you don't reach that mark, then you're going to arts. But there was a specific girl who was determined. She was like she's always wanted to be a doctor. She's always, and then she did everything possible. She brought in her parents. She disturbed the heads of departments until they made room, and they put her into the science class, and she did struggle, but today she's a doctor and she's doing well. So
Exactly.
I think that just
Yeah.
again emphasizes your point of just being resilient, making sure that if you've once you've found that interest, pursue it with all your might and just go for it.
And you see that quota thing they do, that, okay, if you score a higher mark, then you go to sciences. But there's some people that they score high marks and they don't want to do sciences.
That's
They want
another
to do
point.
arts. So you see, you're now taking
Mm-hmm.
you're going to take them and put them in sciences, and then you find out that they're not doing well because that
Mm-hmm.
I
is not
think
their
that
interest.
that
So
method is so messed
yeah,
up
so
that they do that
yeah,
here.
It
exactly.
is. It is
It,
actually. It
it
is.
really is.
So I think that
Yeah.
that
It's
guidance,
an oversight.
counseling, right from primary to secondary, even from the junior classes, just to direct students in what they want. And there's nothing wrong in going to try the science. And if you find out I don't like it, then you move to another class, to another course.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Mhm.
always change.
Mhm.
It's nothing cast in
Yeah.
stone. So you can always
Yeah.
do that. So
Thank
just
you.
tell them, just
Thank
give
you
it a
for that.
try. Yeah.
Yes. And then Valerie, what would your closing remarks be? What would your final kind of words of inspiration be on this day as we mark International Day for Women and Girls in Science?
Okay, I'll try. I'll try and give my last remark. So I just feel diversity and inclusion is not optional, it's necessary. It's necessary that we for as many different voices, perspectives, experiences as possible. And you mentioned this earlier, Georgia. I second it so that we can have
Mm,
um, our impact, our the interventions are as holistic, as comprehensive, and inclusive as possible. I feel like girls should be encouraged to enter STEM fields because we are underrepresented at the moment, and that does need to change to, make a better world for everyone. So I think
yeah.
platforms like this are beautiful. I feel like there
Mm-hmm.
should be more conversations, more visibility
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
women and girls work. No, not women and girls, but women, like
Yeah.
relatable women that are working within these fields that little girls can look
Mm-hmm.
up to and say, do you know what? Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to do this and I can do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you.
I'll stop.
Thank you so much. I don't know if anyone has comments, by the way. I should have asked this earlier, but if there are any comments or questions, this will be the right time to post them. Thank you for joining the discussion. And Dr. Sook, I don't know if you had any last things. I didn't say that it was going to be closing remarks. So do you have any last things to say or you're good?
Yeah, well, just to add something about, getting the mentorship that she was talking about, how
Yeah.
you get companies or corporations to come and talk about to get the mentors. I'd also like to add that another way of getting a mentor, like how I have a mentor that I've never met. I just went on the internet and saw this
Oh,
person,
wow.
and I just liked the person's work and everything. I just follow the person on the internet. We've never met. The
Hmm.
person doesn't even know me, but I just
Wow.
keep
I love
following
that.
up the person's work, the person's research.
Yeah.
When they're giving talks, it just encourages me. It just helps me. So I could say that's my mentor. So that
Mm-hmm.
at least we have the technology now, the internet. So you don't have to go looking for, hey, please, can you be my mentor and all that. There are also,
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
you
You
could,
can
that's
follow
also one of
people.
the ways, even though the contact to contact, when you have it's better when you have a mentor talking to you directly, telling you, guiding you and all that. But sometimes when you don't have that opportunity, you can also try other means and everything. So
Yes, it's
and
very
then,
important.
like, I just wanted to add, when she was talking, this comment just came into my head. You say, behind every successful man, or what a man can do, a woman can do better.
I know that's right.
Yes, a
She'll
woman
say
hmm,
can do better.
before
So,
they say this
hmm.
is hate talk, but no, yes.
so just to encourage all the,
And
I
they
encourage the
close
young
our
girls,
stream.
just have that in your mind. If the guy in your class can do it, you can do better. If you can be an engineer, you
Hmm.
can also be a very good engineer because, well,
Definitely,
it might not be,
definitely.
yeah. So just have that that comment in your head, and you see, it can push you to do better and be whatever you want to
Hmm.
be. In a male-dominated place, you could be the only female,
Yes,
and you could do
stand
better.
strong.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really
Thank you.
inspiring. Thank you so, so much.
All right.
I don't even know how to summarize this talk, to be honest, because we've covered so many different topics. And there's been so much information that has been shared. I would like to personally thank the three of you. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Dr. Sook. Thank you, Sabrina, even though she has dropped off, for taking the time in your very busy schedules. I know some of you either were at work or just finished from work to join this live for this very important discussion. So I really do appreciate it. And I know that this will make impact. Even if people didn't join now, they will definitely listen later. And I hope that we can do a part two at some point, maybe for International Women's Day, who knows. But on this topic, we've discussed so much. We've talked about gender disparities. We've talked about the lack of representation, even in leadership roles in schools, in both the public health sector and medicine. We've talked about stereotypes, and we've talked about strategies to really encourage young girls to go into STEM related careers, whether it's by having a mentor, whether it's by creating structures in schools, such as having STEM clubs, career days involving parents, focusing on the teachers level to really bring in young girls into maths and science related subjects. There is a lot that we have discussed, and I think discussions like this are vital to even just bring awareness and to bring up the conversation so that we can take it back home, even from that level, and talk to our sisters, younger sisters, and talk to our children, and encourage them to pursue the careers that they're interested in, despite whether it's male dominated or not. But there is a long way to go, and I think we're also aware of that. We are seeing progress. I've seen different reports, even in the medical fields, specifically in the US, where in specific departments you're seeing more women that are going into that. And there are loads of programs and initiatives. And even a day like this is the 10th anniversary of International Day for Women and Girls in Science. So we're making progress. But as we said, we want that 1/3 representation to turn into 2/3, to eventually 80%. We're not trying to overtake the sector so that there's more girls. We just want equality. So on that note, I think we can end this conversation for now, or let me not say end it. We can continue this conversation in our workplaces, in our homes, amongst friends, and just continue to raise more awareness. So thank you so much for joining this conversation. Thank you for your contributions, and I hope to see you in the next Edu Convo. Have a lovely evening.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Thank you
having
for having
Bye,
us.
us.
This was
ladies.
great.
Bye.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
soon. Bye.